So this is on. If I just turn this one on, Phil, this one also will work.
Oh, that one automatically.
Right, that's kind of what I thought. So Sri Giriraj, let's put this like right here. I think it's best. Good enough.
So only this one. So this one. Ran Prabhu? No TV? Is it with the no? It's okay? Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Parivajaka Astotara Abhaya Charana Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Parivajaka Astotara Sri Ganesh Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Sharada Thakur Ki Jai प्रेम से गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री राधा गोविंद देव की जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय गिरि गोवर्धन की जय निताय गौर हरि प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga four 27. I can Prabhuji from HD. I'll share here. I think it's coming, Prabhu. Yeah. Reading from Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 4. The Sati quits her body in this chapter. So we are at text 27. So first word by word. Please repeat after me. Tata Swabhartu Charanambujasavam Jagadguru Chintayati Na Cha Aparam Dadarsha Deha Hatakalmashaha Sati Sadhyaha Prajajvala Samadhi Jag Agnina Tata Swabhartuscharanabujasavam Jagadguroschintayati na chaparam Dadarsha deho hata kalmasha sati Sadhya prajalva samadhi jagnina Tata swabhartuscharanabujasavam Jagadguroschintayati na chaparam Dadarsha deho hata kalmasha sati Sadhya prajajvala samadhi jagnina. One more time. Tata swabhartuscharanabujasavam Jagadguroschintayati na chaparam Dadarsha deho hata kalmasha sati Sadhya prajajvala samadhi jagnina. Tatasvabhartuscharanabujasavam Jagadguroschintayati na chaparam Dadarsha deho hata kalmasha sati Sadhya prajajvala samadhi jagnina. Tatasvabhartuscharanabujasavam Jagadgiroschintayati na chaparam Dadarsha deho hata kalmasha sati Sadhya prajajvala samadhi jagnina. What is this? ततस्वभर्तुश्चरणाम्बुजासवम् जगद्गुरोश्चिन्तयति न चापरम् ददर्श देहो हतकल्मषा सती सद्या प्रज्ज्वालसमाधिजाग्निना. Yeah, please repeat after me word by word meanings. Tata, there, Swabhartu, of her husband, Charanambujasavam, on the nectar of the lotus feet, Jagat Guru, of the supreme spiritual teacher of the universe, Chintayati, meditating, Na, not, Cha, and Aparam, not other than her husband. Dadarsha, sa, deha, her body, hata kalmashaha, taints of sin being destroyed. Sati, sati, sadhya, soon, prajajwala, burned, samadhi jagnina, by fire produced by meditation. Translation and purport by Abhayacharana Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: Sati concentrated all her meditation on the holy lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is the supreme spiritual master of all the world. Thus, she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in a blazing fire by meditation on the fiery elements. Purport: Sati at once thought of the lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is one of the three great personalities of Godhead in charge of the management of the material world. And simply by meditating on his lotus feet, she derived such great pleasure that she forgot everything in relationship with her body. This pleasure was certainly material because she gave up her body for another body that was also material. But by this example, we can appreciate the devotee's pleasure in concentrating his mind and attention on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna. There is such transcendental bliss in simply meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord that one can forget everything but the Lord's transcendental form This is the perfection of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. In this verse, it is stated that by such meditation, she became free from all contamination. What was that contamination? The contamination was her concept of the body derived from Daksha. But she forgot that bodily relationship in trance. The purport is that when one becomes free from all bodily relationships within this material world and simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that all the contamination of his material attachment has been burned by the blazing fires of transcendental ecstasy. It is not necessary for one to manifest a blazing fire externally. For if one forgets all his bodily relationships within this material world and becomes situated in his spiritual identity, it is said that one has been freed from all material contamination by the blazing fire of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. That is the topmost perfection of yoga. If one keeps his bodily relationships within this material world and poses himself as a great yogi, he is not a bona fide yogi. In the Srimad Bhāgavatam 2.4.15, it is stated, Yat Kirtanam Yat Smaranam. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is immediately freed from material contamination. The material bodily concept by the blazing fire of ecstasy, this effect takes place immediately without a second's delay. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, that Sati quit her body means that she gave up within her heart her relationship with Daksha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also comments that since Sati is the superintendent deity of the external potency, when she quit her body, she did not get a spiritual body, but simply transferred from the body she had received from Daksha. Other commentators also say that she immediately transferred herself into the womb of Menaka, her future mother. She gave up the body she had received from Daksha and immediately transferred herself to another, better body. But this does not mean that she got a spiritual body. ओमज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पाङ्गं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यं पवित्र पवित्रो वा सर्ववस्संगतो वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं सभाभियान्दं श्रीविष्णु 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 विष्णु परमात्मा Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining the morning Srimad Bhāgavatam class here in Sri Radha Govinda Dev Temple. Sri Radha Govinda Dev ki jai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Giri Govardhan ki jai, Gaurmita ki jai. So we are here in Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 4, entitled as the Sati quits her body. So before begin a discussion of this discourse, I seek blessings from very senior Srila Prabhupada disciple is associating with us here in our temple. His Holiness Jayendra Swami Maharaj is there, and our temple president, His Grace Ansaru Prabhu, and our very dear His Grace Ram Rai Prabhu sitting here and hearing. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining here. So this is the chapter we are here, fourth canto. The fourth canto describes about the entire fourth canto is describes about the let me share here a few things. The creation of the fourth order. The entire chapter, entire canto talks about. In this particular chapter, we are seeing the pastimes of Daksha, Prajapati, Sati, and Lord Shiva. So we are here, chapter 4. So, okay, so this is the verse. Let me put it here in slide mode. Very important uh, verse, this one. Is at the end of almost done with her meditation. She's meditating actually in this particular verse, and she's going to lift her body. So here, if you see the translation, Sati concentrated all her meditation on the holy lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is the supreme spiritual master of all the world. Thus she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in a blazing fire by meditation on the fiery elements. So this is the important word. Samadhi ja agnina. Agnina. Samadhi ja agnina. By fire produced by meditation. It's possible. So, but before that, in a entirety, let us see quick things. Just let us spend 5 minutes. What's exactly the entire this chapter all about? So in the beginning, of course, every day here in the Bhagavatam, we are going through each devotee discussing about one verse, but just for spending for 5 minutes to what exactly the previous verses and what is going to discuss today. So we'll see. I always refer these documents by my Bhakti Vaibhava teacher, His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. We have this material in our as part of our course. So better to understand some quick points. First 1 to 5 verses talks about Sati goes to Daksha's sacrifice. So this chapter begins, and this first five verses talks about Sati also entering into that sacrifice that's performing by Daksha. So first one talks about Shiva became silent, understanding Sati would be destroyed in both cases. Sati cried out of affection for her relatives. Her influence bewildered. Sati left Shiva. Shiva's followers followed Sati and Nandi and many yakshas. Procession takes place. Sati was placed on the bull, given sarika bird, a ball, lotus, mirror, white umbrella, fan, and garland. These are the verses we have seen in the previously gone through also. So this 6 to 10 talks about Sati gets a cold response from Daksha. Cold response. So word is good. 6 to 7 talks about Sati enters the sacrificial arena. Cold welcome, warm welcome, and cold welcome. Hare Krishna. 8 to 9, she refused gifts and seat. Sacrifice devoid of any offering to Shiva. So Sati became angry. Hmm. Shiva's followers got up to kill Daksha. So here appending, right? Lord Shiva, appending to Lord Shiva. But Sati stopped them. Hmm. And this is very, very important. Very, very important. As you know, devotee, we are trying to becoming devotees. We are trying to becoming pure devotees ultimately. Very important. A sadhu, asadu definition is given in this particular chapter, specific to this particular verse. 12th verse. Sati condemns Daksha. There, Shiva is best of sadhus. Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. We have seen that verse in the Bhāgavatam. Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. The greatest devotee of Supreme Lord. Shiva is the best of sadhus, sees good when there is none. You are ati asadu tama. Very important, please understand the meanings of sadhu asadu. Mahattara asaduttara. Very important thing to understand actually. See, we all the time we have gone through this statement, right? See only good in others. That is come from in scripture actually, particularly from this verse. Only see good in others. So that statement we frequently hear, right? So that's come from here. Levels of sadhu and asadu. Sadhu, who is sadhu? Accepts even faults in others, since the faults can eventually be transformed by certain methods into good qualities. Mahattara overlooks the faults. They won't see faults, see good the qualities. Mahattama takes small good qualities and magnifies them. If we find a good quality in a particular person or particular devotee, magnifying, oh, you're a nice devotee, you're so nicely serving here, like that. Appreciation, not seeing small faults. Ati mahattama sees good qualities in others where there are none. So this is definition of a sadhu. Asadu, opposite, simple to them, that's why it's put here. Asadu thinks that someone good qualities will turn into faults, finding faults in others. Asaduttara see faults only, overlooking the good qualities. There is an example, right? We have white paper. We have white paper. There is one dark dot. People always see the dark dot only. There is no good things in a person. They won't see. The entire page is white. That example we see. Asaduttama takes small faults and magnifies them. Sees no good qualities. Opposite to this. And ati asaduttama sees only faults. They won't find any good qualities. Always blaspheming devotees. Always it's not a devotee qualities. Complete materialistic person. Okay, so that is there. That is come from the scripture, particularly this verse 4:12 verse. Sati condemns Daksha. Vaishnava's dust will not tolerate an offender. Shiva's name destroys sins. His fame is pure. His orders cannot be neglected. You offended Shiva, who is sought after by both materialists and transcendentalists. So here Sati condemns Daksha, our father. His foot wash is held on head by Brahma. You are offending such a great Vaishnava. It's not good. That's where this particular set of verses talks about. And this is also in this particular chapter very important to know this particular verse 11:23. But these set of verses, continuation of this condemnation. to Daksha, her father. 17 talks about this particular verse. One should block one's ears and leave the place if unable to punish the offender or cut his tongue and kill him and then give up one's life. Very important verse. Karano pidhaya nirayad yada akalpa ise dharma vitari asrini bir ribir asam asyamane चिन्त्यत् प्रसह्य रुसतिम् असतिं प्रभुश्चेत् जिह्वम् असुन् अपि ततो विसृजेत् स धर्मः. So, if we see this particular verse, few points, let us see. What is the meaning? If one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer tongue and kill the offender. And after that, one should give up his own life. So here in this example, in this pastime, she cannot do this way. She cannot kill her father. But what she has done, that verse, today's verse talks about. She is, she's going to quit her body by meditating upon that Lord Shiva's lotus feet. We see that verse. So this is very, very important verse, devotees. I need some help here to read. Let us understand. And in connection with today's verse, I wanted to share something. Anybody like to read this, Bhagavad? Yes, Prabhu. So here. Yeah, you take this. Yeah.
Now you can just for the time being. The argument offered by Sati is that a person who vilifies a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. But by the same argument, Daksha could also defend himself by saying that since he was a Prajapati, the master of many living creatures, and one of the great officers of the great universal affairs, his position was so exalted that Sati should accept his good qualities instead of vilifying him. The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying, but defending. If possible, she should have cut out Daksha's tongue because he blasphemed Lord Shiva. In other words, since Lord Shiva is the protector of religion, a person who vilifies him should be killed at once. And after killing such a person, one should give up one's life. That is the process. But because Daksha happened to be the father of Sati, she decided not to kill him, but to give up her own life in order to compensate for the great sin she had committed by hearing blasphemy of Lord Shiva. So he has more.
Yeah.
The instruction set forth here in Srimad Bhāgavatam is that one should not tolerate at any cost the activities of a person who vilifies or blasphemes an authority. If one is a Brahmana, he should give up his body because by doing so, should not give up his body because by doing so, he would be responsible for killing a Brahmana. Therefore, a Brahmana should leave the place or block his ears so they will not hear the blasphemy. One happens to be a Kshatriya, he has the power to punish any man. Therefore, a Kshatriya should at once cut out the tongue of the vilifier and kill him. But as far as the Vaishyas and Sudras are concerned, they should immediately give up their bodies. Sati decided to give up her body because she thought herself to be among the Sudras and Vaishyas. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 32, Strio Vaishyas Tata Sudra. Women, laborers, and the mercantile class are on the same level. Thus, since it is recommended for the Vaishyas and Sudras should immediately give up their bodies upon hearing blasphemy of an exalted personality like Lord Shiva, she decided to give up her life.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay. Yes. So this is what this particular verse talks about. But these last statements is, mm, uh, if one happens to be a kshatriya can do because he has a power, he's a ruler of the kingdom, he can do. But therefore, therefore a kshatriya should at once cut out the tongue of the willy fire of and kill him. But as far as the Vaishyas and Sudras are concerned, they should immediately give up their bodies. If we cannot, that is as mentioned here. So Sati decided to give up her body because she thought herself to be among the Shudras and Vaishyas. So actually 932 talks about anybody can practice bhakti yoga. That's where anybody can think about Krishna and go back to it. That is the verse. Striyo Vaishya Sata Shudra. Women, laborers, and mercantile class are on the same level. So here, in this particular verse, if you see, Prabhupada nicely writes, some points I have highlighted here in this purport. Um, uh, So we got the point from this particular verse, 17th verse, 4:17. So here she is now giving up her body. So how she is giving her body, Prabhupada nicely explaining in the purport. Let us spend some time on this purport. Sati at once thought of the lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is one of the three great personalities of Godhead in charge of the management of the material world. So nice words, huh? Srila Prabhupada uses. Great personalities of Godhead in charge of the management of the material world. There are three Gunavataras. Actually, beautiful description in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhyalila, 28th chapter. Um, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks about these various avatars. Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Leela avatars, Manvantara avatars, Shakti avatars, and Yuga avatars. So Gunavataras, management of the material world, three modes, right? Srushti, Sthiti, and Laya, creation, maintenance, and destruction. So Lord Shiva is the Laya Karu, we say that. Destruction part is one of the management of the material world. Who? Lord Shiva. Krishna has given the job responsibility to manage this world. And simply by meditating on his lotus feet, she derived such great pleasure that she forgot everything in relationship with her body. What is the relationship with her body in this particular pastime? She is a daughter of Daksha. This pleasure was certainly material because she gave up her body for another body that was also material. But by this example, we can appreciate the devotee's pleasure in concentrating his mind and attention on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna. There is such transcendental bliss in simply meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord that one can forget everything but the Lord's transcendental form. This is the perfection of yogic samadhi. Bhagavad Gita also, 6th chapter, 47 verse, last verse of the 6th chapter, yeah. Yoginam api sarvesham madgater antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamomataha. Who is the best yogi? The bhakti yogi is the best yogi because always thinks about Krishna, meditating upon him, and that's where he is serving Krishna in that way. This is the perfection of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. In this verse, it is stated that by such meditation, she became free from all contamination. Prabhupada described about the word exactly that contamination. The contamination was her concept of the body derived from Daksha, but she forgot the bodily relationship in trance. The purport is that when one becomes free from all bodily relationship within this world, material world, and simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Very important statement. Become always here, right? Many times, or maybe thousands of times. Prabhupada writes in his purports and the small books, various, in his translations, and small. What he always says that bodily relationships. Uh, that is the problem, right? Why we are in this material world? Why we are suffering? Because of the body, because of the bodily sufferings. Bodily sufferings. What are the bodily sufferings? We all know. What are the bodily sufferings? Total 7, 4 plus 3. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi plus 3. Kleshas, Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika. That's why bodily concept of life. As long as we are in this material world, those 7 sufferings we have to undergo. So, what is saying? She forgot that bodily relationships in trance by meditating upon Lord Shiva's lotus feet. The purport is that when one becomes free from, that is very important, when one becomes free from all bodily relationship within this material world, and simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. So that is the goal, right? Free from bodily relationship and places ourselves, thinks about that our eternal servant of Krishna. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, what is he saying? Uh, what is it? Eternal servant of Krishna, right? The particular verse. Uh, Constitutional position of a living entity. Jivera Swarupave Krishnera Nityadas. Our Nityadas, our position is Nityadas. In Tulasi Maharani prayer also, Seva Adhikara diye Koro Nijada, Seva Adhikara. What is our Adhikara? Seva Adhikara. That is our eternal position and eternal job responsibility is to serve Supreme Lord. It is to be understood that all the contamination of his material attachment has been burned by the blazing fires of transcendental ecstasy. It is not necessary, it is not necessary for one to manifest a blazing fire externally. If Prabhupada is saying here, how of course here Sati Mata meditating and from her body only the fire erupted. But Prabhupada writes here one point. It is not necessary. It is not necessary for one to manifest a blazing fire externally. Of course, as we are conditional, it's not possible. Sati Mata is a different level, entity. For if one forgets all his bodily relationship within this material world and becomes situated in his spiritual identity, it is said that one is freed from all material contamination by the blazing fire of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. Again, Prabhupada writes it, yogic samadhi or ecstasy. What is that? We have to forget our bodily relations or use that relations in Krishna service. That way, understanding within this material one becomes situated in a spiritual identity. What is spiritual identity? That is same eternal servant. Jivaraya Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. It is said that one has been freed from all material contamination by the blazing fire of yogic samadhi. Prabhupada nicely explained here. That is the topmost perfection of yoga. If one keeps his bodily relationship within this material world and poses himself as a great yogi, he is not a bona fide yogi. In Srimad Bhāgavatam 2.4.15, it is stated, Yat Kirtanam Yat Smaranam. Beautiful verse. Yat Kirtanam Yat Smaranam Yadikshanam Yadvandanam Yadcharavanam Yadarhanam Lokasya Sadhyo Vidno Dikalmasham Tasmai Subhadra Sravase Namo Nama. Very beautiful verse. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto all the auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer. So how can we get rid of all the sins? This is the verse. This is the answer from the Bhagavatam. And that too Prabhupada quoted here in this particular purport. See, the beauty of Srila Prabhupada is connected verses to strengthen our understanding, right? To strengthen our understanding. 2.4.15. How can we get rid of all the sins? Taking shelter of the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. All auspicious Supreme Lord, glorification, remembrance, prayers, worshipping, hearing. By doing all these devotional activities, the sins goes away. How? Why it goes away? Because there are three karmas we all know, right? Sakarma, sakam karma, vikarma, bad karma, good karma, bad karma, akarma. There is no karma. When we perform these activities, there is no question of creating a new karma. Um, that's it. That's simple to understand. So here, that's where Prabhupada pointed out here. simply by chanting the holy name of Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, simply by offering prayers to Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is immediately freed from the material contamination. The material bodily concept, by the blazing fire of ecstasy, this effect takes place immediately without seconds delay. So anybody can practice Bhakti Yoga. And I just want to appreciate, Prabhuji, Ram Rai Prabhu, and all of your team so nicely performing Yajna, Kirtan Yajna every day, every day. So good. Thank you so much. With the lotus feet of yours, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for doing this activity in the fully engrossed material location, New York City. Even though in the cold winter, amazing and so much inspiration. And here next paragraph, Prabhupada writes uh, her destiny. What is her destiny after giving up her body, right? This word is there, right? Samadhi Jagnina, by fire produced by meditation. So this picture, this picture in this, see that, just to meditate nicely here. This is a picture. So now let me conclude this. Another 10 minutes, okay? According to Srila Jiva Goswami, that Sati quit her body means that she gave up within her heart her relationship with Daksha. From the heart only, gave up. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Tagore also comments that since Sati is the superintendent deity of the external potency, how can we understand this superintendent deity of the external potency? Durga Devi, Durga Shakti, right? This material world, Lord Shiva is the, in this material world, we see that Durga Devi and Lord Shiva, Durga Shakti, material nature. And who is running this material nature? Of course, Layakarudu is nothing but Lord Shiva, external potency. When she quit her body, she did not get a spiritual body. Prabhupada clearly mentioned here for her next destination. When she quit her body, she did not get a spiritual body, but simply transferred from the body she had received from Daksha. Other commentators also say that she immediately transferred herself into the womb of Menaka, next life, her future mother. She gave up the body she had received from Daksha and immediately transferred herself to another better body. But this does not mean that she got a spiritual body. Next continuation. The pastimes of Supreme Lord. It has to go like this. Next lifetime, next pastime, like that. So, if you see, just want to share a few more verses I want to share here. In this connection, I just want to see. I was meditating upon this one, we always have this understanding, right? Our eternal position at the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, eternal servitorship. So this pastime you all understand, right? I mean, how she left her body. She's going to get next. She's going to get next body as a in the womb of Menaka, future mother. That's after left her body. But few points from our strengthen our devotional understandings. Prabhupada always any purport if you see, it has to direct to a devotion, proper devotion. So if you see this one, eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, there are few more reference things, reference points, reference verses from different things. We all know, right? I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Shudra. That also Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Gopir Bhartur Padakamalayar Dasa 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 Anudas. That means I am not part of any Varnashrama category. But I'm what part of I'm for that? I'm eternal servant of Supreme Lord. That is one verse. There two times said servant of, three times said servant of Supreme Lord. In the Vritrasura pastime also, his feelings, he wanted to become a servant of servants. And in the Mukunda Mala Stotra also, King King Kulashekara's prayers, is also thinking he wanted to be servant, not only one servant, seven times. Servants of, like that, seventh time I wanted to be there. So that is the mood of a devotional service. So, our position is the eternal servant of Supreme Lord. So that is what is is all about. So here in 2:4:15 we have seen. So the question, why we need to, why we need to be servant of the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, why we have to meditate upon Supreme Lord. So here anyway, Mother Sati gets next body in continuation of some other pastimes. But as our life, as our material life and spiritual life we talk about, we have to always properly, no, as I am a grihastha, I have to balance both our spiritual life and material life, uh, and professional life also. So in this particular purport, what is the learning points, what is the takeaway we can think about or we can meditate upon that, so our meditation, of course, internally, whatever we do, whatever action, what is the next verse of Patram Pushpam Phalam, Yad Karoshi Yadasnasi Yajjuosi Dadasi Yad. So whatever action, whatever our thinking, feeling, willing, those the same thinking, feeling, willing, the consciousness replaces with Krishna, not in materialistic way. That is the only, we have to work on that, the thinking, feeling and willing aspects of our consciousness, uh, our mind basically. um, okay, so that's the thing. Always think about Krishna, never forgets. That is also we have gone through Prabhupada purports. The devotee consciousness needs to be whatever action perform, whatever, keep our mind or give our mind to Krishna, or put our mind at the lotus feet of Krishna. Always thinking, run in our mind. Always keep that in the develop that consciousness. But all the time it's not possible. Sometimes we are acting on the material bodily platform, but we have to pray for Supreme Lord and take blessings from senior Vaishnavas to get that consciousness. Um, so that's what it is. So, any questions and or anything to add or corrections? So that is over to you. We have another 7 minutes. In the beginning, in the beginning, why Lord Shiva offended by the Daksha? You all know, right? Anybody likes to share anything on that? Why all this taken place? Um, right? Why she got upset with her father?
Instructive pastime for all of us. This happened at the dawn of, more or less towards the beginning of creation. Conditions and situation was different. So in Kali Yuga, we can't take the same position. It's been discussed how Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they're not killing the demons, cutting out the tongues of the blasphemers and fault finders, but their process is to so much kill, but silence. He silences the non-devotee monists by giving the Param Vardante, the superior taste of Krishna consciousness. So the Sankirtan Yagna in this age of Kali, for that reason, is looked upon, or the transcendental education of the superiority of this age is ascertained because of the um, supreme position of the Sankirtan Yagna of chanting the holy name, that it supersedes all other yagnas, or includes the results of all other yagnas and more, uh, by awarding the practitioners prema, Braja prema, which cannot be available in performing regular or ordinary Vedic yagnas. So we maybe have friends or family members who are blasphemers, fault finders, vilifiers, and we don't physically give up our body or try to cut out their tongue. But just the act, especially of accepting the renounced order, putting on the saffron colored cloth, which came out in a class recently from His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj, um, means that you have given up all relationship in this material world. That's the significance. Next time people ask you, what is this color that you're wearing? What does it mean? You could tell them that it means we're civilly dead.
Oh. Well, that's nice.
So the spirit is what's important, not so much the physical act. And then again, of course, Sati, she is the she's one of the expansions of the superintendent. She's Goddess Durga. She's the material energy. Um, she has very great power. So look at this pastime from many different levels. Um, now we're coming to the section where the retaliation will take place, and Lord Shiva and his followers will emerge victorious in terms of the carnage and destruction in the battle. They will devastate the yagna, and then ultimately they all come to their senses, the followers of Daksha and uh, Daksha himself. And ultimately, when everything is set right and everybody is in right consciousness, then Lord Vishnu himself appears in the sacrificial yagna. I believe that's chapter number 7. And there's many wonderful prayers and glorifications spoken by uh, all the variegated, exalted personalities from all over the universe. And again, these purports that Prabhupada is writing, the fourth canto, this is in the first years of ISKCON, or perhaps when a lot of success was coming. And so there's very memorable purports from Srila Prabhupada. We always keep in mind that the Srimad Bhāgavatam, especially, is Srila Prabhupada's gift to us and for everyone for the next 10,000 years. And he has said that my purports are my personal ecstasies in my relationship with Krishna. And keep in mind the austerity that Prabhupada undertook to give us the Srimad Bhāgavatam while traveling all over the world, initiating so many disciples, speaking practically constantly, nonstop throughout the day to disciples, his leaders, guests, all varieties of um, intelligent people, reporters, um, trying to keep his health good, morning walks, and rising when everyone else is asleep, and spend 2 or 3 hours or even 4 hours a night giving us the Srimad Bhagavatam. So always keep that in mind, and always have a steady relationship with Prabhupada's purports.
Great. Thank
And
you so
so
much.
by
Prabhu.
doing, we'll always
Thank you
have a
so much.
relationship directly with Srila Prabhupada.
Anybody like to share anything?
I had two things that were clarified in this class. One of them was that I was confused as to why Sati was setting herself on fire, because as Vaishnavas we don't really make haste decisions like that.
Suicide. Mm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And it says that she did that actually out of culture, to preserve Vedic culture. She put herself in this yogic trance and as one would say nowadays, spontaneously combusted into flames. So that was one of the questions that was answered for me in this class, that she did that out of following Vedic culture. It wasn't like, because it seemed uncharacteristic of an advanced devotee like Sati to be doing something like that. So that answered my first question. Second question I was having was why it was that she was getting another material body, because Prabhupada, and I like how Prabhupada also tied it in with thinking about the lotus feet of Krishna at the time of death. And he was saying that actually because she's the Bahiranga Shakti, she's naturally having to take another material body because of her service, because she's, of course, an expansion from Srimati Radharani that's coming in this material realm. But I was confused as to how that came about, so that question was also answered. So I'm just feeling very happy that Krishna reciprocated with me today through you being on the Vyasa Sun and through the Bhagavatam class.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you.
I just want to share here. Prabhupada mentioned here. See, there is we all know, right, that one will of the Lord. It has to continue the next first time. If you see that for this particular verse, 27, right? Prabhupada specifically mentioned here one point. Let me share. Prabhupada mentioned here, it is not necessary for one to manifest a blazing fire externally. That's the point mentioned, right? So, for her, so we cannot, as our material bodies, we cannot, with the meditation, we cannot fire up our, because she is Antaranga Shakti of Supreme Lord. Um, she is part of, this department function. I mean, next fast time she has to be taken place. And compared to is a elevated personality, right? But Prabhupada has mentioned for us, this point, and it is not necessary one to manifest a blazing fire externally, but blazing fire of Kirtan. That is what for our thing. We don't have that kind of samadhi, that kind of siddhis we have. We have only that medicine of, we have only the blazing fire of Kirtan that can, go beyond this material world, right? So that is one point. So here, right, Vishwanath Chakravarti comments. Prabhupada referred that Vishwanath Chakravarti's comment that since Sati is the superintendent deity of the external potency, that means Lord Shiva and Durga Devi is a part of Durga Shakti potency only, Sati Mata, right? So just continuation. I mean, uh, again, Prabhupada mentioned she is not going to get the spiritual body immediately, but next life in the womb of Menaka, then past time continuation. Krishna wants that way. I mean, how means? I mean, it's beyond our beyond our conception, because our minds always limited. We cannot understand the unlimited or behind the reasons why. Why? It's the will of the Lord. Krishna wants to do that way, right? So yeah, and that's the thing. But to we get spiritual bodies, we have to be situated in the blazing fire of kirtans. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर हरि प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। Thank you so much for the opportunity. राम भाई
Jai.
प्रभु की जय, युग धर्म आश्रम की जय, हरि बोल। जय हरि बोल, हरि